Alright, what's up y'all, it's LakerFan here. As you can see by the title of today's video, here to talk about the truth about do-it-all builds in NBA 2K25. So, the build you're going to be seeing me talk about right here is my new Swiss Army knife build. It's a 6'10 that can shoot. I typically play pure inside big, and obviously when you take away the fact that you have the inside and put some shooting on it, it's going to be taking some attributes away in some regards, like typical things I'd have higher, probably layup, pass accuracy, some ball handle, speed of ball maybe, but 6'10s are different because that's like pretty much the max they can get. Elite defense though, this build does not have elite defense. It's like mediocre to maybe average, if you will, and same with the rebounding. It's not elite offensive rebound, and it's definitely not elite defensive rebound. It's just more so serviceable defensive rebound. So the type of build that you see right here is a do-it-all build. It can pretty much guard the perimeter, the interior. I know it doesn't look like it on paper great, but it can certainly get the job done in those regards. Same with it can handle the ball, it can play off ball, it can be a pick and roller, pick and popper, a spot up, whatever you want it to be, realistically, it can do. Now, the pros to this are that when you're playing with a different lineup or even a different teammate, if you're just talking 2s, 3s, whatever it may be, but let's talk like 5s exactly. When you're playing with a different lineup, if you're playing with your boys, you can fit in any role. You can just fill the void of anything that someone doesn't bring to the table, and it will be a glue and like, you know, a really nice piece that can just fit in and make it so it's not a miserable time for your boys. Like you're running 3 point guards at the same time, or you're running like 4 locks at the same time, and now like one dude has to handle the ball the whole time. It can provide plenty of different things. However, the negative to that and the drawback, and I will have 2 different gameplays. It'll be a 2's gameplay and a 3's gameplay, both playing with my boy Spill right here. So let's talk about the negatives of this whole being able to do everything. So in my opinion, it typically will slot you into the spots that aren't quite as fun to play. A lot of your teammates are going to have guards, they're going to have bigs, they're going to have, you know, niche fun things that have a lot of offense, not a lot of defense, and it's going to put you in a spot where, because you're so mediocre on all your ratings and stuff, it's going to be a lot more likely that you probably slot yourself into a role, quote unquote, that's a lot more defensive, a lot more just glue guy, role player, stuff like that, and it's not as fun. And that's just coming from me, who obviously, when I'm playing on pure insides, you might think, well, isn't that boring? You don't shoot the ball, there's nothing like crazy variance or anything like that. Let me tell you, the thing with being a pure inside is people have to play around you a little bit. I create my teams around me a little bit as well, as you guys have probably seen if you are slightly, you know, like pointing that out when it comes to my playstyle or anything like that. That obviously there's a lot of people with a pure outside guard, or there's bigs like Tonic who can shoot and stuff like that. They don't really have a lot of interior post game to them because that's by design. They want to have a lot of outside post game, and it plays off of me being an elite offensive rebound crasher and stuff like that, and being able to slash, blah blah blah. We have a lot of shooters around it. It's like Dwight Howard if you like allowed him to dribble, pretty much. It's the play style that I always try to embody, essentially. Or maybe like Bam Adebayo with more athleticism and dunking ability, pretty much. So with that in mind, obviously that leads to me being in a spot where when I get on a shooting build and I play with different, you know, teammates or different builds and stuff like that, it just like the typical like random people, essentially, rather than the handcrafted teams that I actually have synergy with around my build and stuff. It leads to me being in a little bit more of a spot up role, a little bit more of an off ball role. You'll see it in the second gameplay of pretty much what I'm talking about. We're playing with Koza, who's also on like a great guard. And to just cut to the chase, that's the type of stuff I'm talking about. Where when there's a lot of guards around you, when you're on an all around build and stuff like that, that's the type of stuff that you're really gonna have a hard time. In my opinion, the epitome of an all around build is pretty much like a Kevin Durant, Giannis, and like, let's say, Anthony Davis all on like a 3's team, essentially, right? Whereas if you are one of those guys, like let's say Kevin Durant, right? That's a true all-around, do-it-all everything that can just kind of Swiss Army knife his way into things. But let's just put it like this: if you're on a team with Curry and 3s, I'm just making this in 2K terminology, all right? So if you're in a team with Curry and then let's say Giannis, all right? So that's your 3's team: Curry, Giannis, KD. Well, Curry is just so much of a deficiency to your team's defense that like it's going to put this KD dude in a way overly defensive role that isn't exactly to his great playstyle, when realistically that synergy of that 3's team, it'd be probably better to slot like a Kawhi Leonard or some role player lockdown of the NBA, blah blah blah, whoever you want to, like, you know, call that Lou Dort. I'm not trying to get into the deep cuts, nitty gritty stuff for the, you know, 2K watchers and stuff like that here, but long story short, the reason the 3's lineups of the meta stuff work so good year after year after year is because it's great synergy. It's a guard that dominates the ball with a spot up in the corner that doesn't need any involvement, and then a center that plays both ways so that the lock who's spotting up in the corner gets the great usage on defense where he's always on the ball of the other team's point guard, and then the big man gets the two-way effect where he can play the offensive second man, if you will, of the pick and roller, pick and popper, and then he can play the defensive second man of the backside screen defender, where it's good to have that type of balance on that key position right there. So, all things considered, in this analogy that I'm trying to make, when you change that lockdown role guy into a Kevin Durant, he now has to be an elite lockdown, which is already a little bit out of his wheelhouse in the first place. Probably doesn't get the ball as much as he would like either when playing with the team with like Kawhi instead of, let's say, a Curry, for instance. We're just going to use Kawhi as that glue guy kind of example, or the lockdown, if you will. And when you get less Currys on the court, it leads to a lot more ball movement, a lot more involvement. And I'm not trying to make this a real life comparison. I'm just saying the sharp playmakers, if you will, the type of guys that are always on like the no defense, not that much finishing, just a ton of shooting and playmaking that want to use screens and just get open from three, and they're obviously a defensive liability in most cases. That's the type of builds that I'm pretty much trying to explain to you guys right here. So the less of those you have on the court, the more easy it is to kind of fit in as a do-it-all build, because then you're not taking the ball out of the hands of an elite offensive player. You're not, like expected to be some absolute unit on defense where you have to like carry that role and overcompensate for your lack of defense from the guard position. Instead, you just have 3 do-it-all builds that all have great synergy together, because you can switch everything on screens probably. You can just go to where the weak matchup is offensively. If they have a small guard on one of your 3 players, you can just feed that guy, and boom, you're just having a great kind of fit with everything, and it all works out good. But again, in the general scheme of things, you're going to have to assume a lot of your friends and a lot of just the people that you play 2K with are probably going to want that guard role. They're going to end up in a situation where they're kind of taking up all the fun in one position, if you will, and now you're stuck being a spot up, being a lockdown, filling in like a glue guy role that you don't really want to play, realistically. So that is, at its core, what being a do-it-all build feels like in 2K25, and honestly in previous years too, to be honest, because I've seen it the same way, where I'm on the good end of this, where I get the involvement and we pick up some like kind of do-it-all glue guy build essentially that can just fill into wherever, and it works out really good. But they're the ones taking the hit off like the fun and the lack of involvement and stuff like that. But I want to maybe, and I'm probably yapping a little bit right here, but what do we got more to do than just yap on this gameplay video a little bit? And I'm here to, kind of convey my talking point here. So I want to translate this to what I've learned a little bit in my life when it comes to the work environment. And granted, I've been on YouTube doing it full time for quite a while, but any of the years in between it or before it, I was still working full time and stuff. And I learned a couple things in the work environment, and I want to maybe convey them to you guys and see if maybe you, as someone who has, like maybe the old heads in the comments and stuff, who have been in the workforce for like 30 years, 20 years, at least 10 years, something like that, feel free to see if you can agree with me on this, because I don't think it's great morally, but I do think it's true and correct. So the work metaphor that I had for this video is, the more tools you provide at work, the more they'll ask of you. My best example of this is when I was working at Panera. I was doing deliveries. I've done kind of worn different hats there, if you will. But when I was doing deliveries, it was my primary focus. That's what they like wanted me to be on, obviously, and that's pretty much what the whole job description was. However, there was still stuff like prep work, where you're cutting up strawberries, blah blah blah, like getting the sample sizes of the food and stuff that get put in the bags, that blah 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 they like do on the food line, if you will. So anyway, you're portioning those out, stuff like that. However, the more tools that you provide, the more useful you are to them. However, does it have a direct impact on your, let's say, pay or your, let's say, hours or anything like that? In my personal case, no. If I were to be someone that provided so many more tools to them, like if I was able to be on the sandwich line, if I was able to, let's say, if I was willing to, for that matter, like do the bussing tables, stuff like that, or just like cleaning the bathrooms, blah, blah, blah. Would they have put me on stuff like that? Yes, they would have. Would I have been compensated for it? Either, let's say financially, or on top of that also, would I have been compensated for it just in my, I don't know, enjoyment or like the mood of being there? No, not really. Would I have been penalized for it in terms of them giving me less hours, or like, like I said, it's not like I'm getting paid less for like not doing that stuff either. So point being a specialist in real life also has its pros, where you get to just do what you do it well. They'll praise you for that. And the problem with being a kind of do-it-all, if you will, you might end up in situations where, since you're asked to do so many things, you can't really specialize in any of them. And then when you don't do it at an A+ rate because you just do a lot of things at a B rate or a B- rate, you're not really remembered for doing them very well. So it doesn't even look like you're doing that good of a job, if you will. So pretty much to sum it all up into 3 sentences, I would say the more you can provide, the more they'll ask of you. Whereas if you have a specialty that you are hired for, or in this case are playing on the game for, that you found your role into, that you're an ace at, they won't fire you or, you know, pay you less because your skill at that specific thing is irreplaceable or really hard to. You know, and this is a different thing. I'm sure in the real life where it's like workhouse stuff like that you're replaced pretty easily, so you got to really put your nose to the grindstone and just stick to it. But in these types of skill-based fields where like you learn a technique essentially and stuff like that, and I'm not even trying to say that in just my case, but when you learn a technique or something like that and become what feels like irreplaceable to your team or to your, you know, work, if you will, you then become someone that's hard to take away from that spot, and they won't even look to put you in a different spot, let alone ask you to do any different things at all, or even think about firing you. So that's just how, in my opinion, it is. Again, feel free to dispute that in the comments. I'm sure a lot of you guys have your own different kind of, you know, experiences with things and stuff like that, and I'm not trying to say this glove fits all by any means, so just understand. But anyway, back to the whole trying to fit it into 2 sentences. Opposed to being a Swiss Army knife puts you in a lot of spots with no specialty and underappreciated for what you provide, because again, you're going to be doing a lot of things in a B- kind of, you know, way, and the only people that will possibly praise you for doing these said things at a B- rate are the ones that understand that it's not always your specialty and there really is no specialty for you, so that the thing that is valued out of you is your Swiss Army knife ability and the fact that you can play multiple things. In something like Marvel Rivals, that I've been playing a lot of recently, that's why I'm using these metaphors for it so much, I have a teammate, Tyson. He's able to play anything, honestly, like truly anything. Support, tank, DPS, any of that stuff. And where I can appreciate that value is it helps the team win off the fact that he can play any different like specialized character, right? So in this case, if you're on talking 2K terms, let's say if you're someone that has a guard, lock, or center, all 3 of those builds, and can play all 3 of the spots really well in those specialized types of ways, then your value stays really high because you can do all types of things at an A+ rate. If your skill is there and the build is utilized and like tooled up to that kind of playstyle, if you will, that's perfect. You're gonna be able to fit all those roles and do them really well. But to have this do-it-all build right here, you have to overcome a lot of barriers off the fact that you don't have high 90s in ratings that you're expected to like play that type of style on. So in the case where I'm trying to play a point guard spot, when we're playing with Koza here, he has a build that's specialized for playing guard, obviously, right? So that's a build where if one of your boys was pretty much like, hey, Laker, take over, go ahead and like, you know, have fun, play super offensive in this game, just have a good time. The problem with that is obviously Koza's build, and I'm not dissing him by any means with this, so don't even try and paint it that way, because I promise it's not like that. But what I'm trying to say is the more guards that are on the court, the less it's easy to do something like that. If they were to pitch the ball off to you and be like imagine it's like Luka Doncic saying, hey, Jared Vanderbilt, go crazy, have some fun here this game, bro. Like, don't even get out that role player shell, go have some fun right here. The problem is when Luka does something like that, that's taking his specialty of offense, ball handling, 3-point, passing, all that stuff, all the skill set that he provides to the table in that regard, the gravity that like the defense pulls toward him and like all the double teams that get forced. Then all of a sudden, if you're not handling the ball and you're not really like doing anything with it in your hands, what do you really bring to the table at that point? It's not like the build is providing elite defense. It's not like Luka Doncic is going to come out here and be a lockdown if he just focused his energy into that rather than being a point forward like point guard. Pretty much what I'm trying to say is, even if your boys want you to take over and have fun, your team composition overall just isn't really built for it, because at that point, now you're taking your super uber offensive point guard and making him nothing on offense, you know? So, point being, I've talked about doing stuff like that on Rivals too, where I have like a healing character like Cloak and Dagger, and pretty much it has the ability to switch over to a lot of damage if you want to, but the problem is that if I tell people I'm going to try and have some fun here, you know, and I want to be on the damaging form of that character, Problem is, if we don't have any other healers and the heals are down bad, people's health is getting low, I gotta switch back to the heal no matter what, because that's the only right play to make in terms of trying to win the game, you know? So it's like saying I'm gonna have fun, but then I have to turn the sweatpants on and like, you know, really play like competitive because no one else is there to really take the role that I'm trying to get away from, if you get what I'm saying. So anyway, it's been a lot of yap in this video, but I hope you guys do understand what I'm trying to get at. It's a lot of like talk of egos, roles, how you fit into a certain team, whether you want to win or have fun, whether you can even have fun at all because your teammate is hogging all the fun, to be honest, or maybe you just find fun in roles that are considered less fun for people. Like for instance, me playing on the Cloak and Dagger, like, you know, support character. I actually enjoy doing something like that, and that's what I prefer to do on that game. So you could ask the same thing about me playing on Inside Big on 2K. You know, it's like, would anybody else really have fun on that? Maybe not, but that's my type of niche that I really do have fun on, and that fits into a lot of team comps pretty well, you know, if you can do it at an elite level. So after all that, I have one last talking point that I want to get on today's video, and that is talking about how this influences the builder, this type of discussion, this type of talk. Because let's be real, a lot of what I've said in today's video, there are still roles to the builds in this game. There are still point guards that don't have elite defense. There are still, you know, do-it-all builds like mine right here. There are still, you know, big man spot-ups that are here to board up, grab rebounds, shoot threes, and just like set screens, stuff like that. You know, there are still role players in this video game, 100%, even though the builder doesn't force you to be a role player. I've been a role player in this type of builder for quite a while because I just, you know, make pure inside builds. Now, someone did dispute my talk on that before, of saying, in my opinion, I'm not as much of a role player build as I used to be because of the fact that the builder allows me to do so much more. Back in the day, if I made a rebounding athletic at, you know, 6'10", 6'11", something like that, I can't really provide much to the table, to be honest. Like on, I don't know, like defense or offense. It's more of just like a kind of role player, you know, set my screen, get my board, have some fun, like pick and rolling and guard backside, play, you know, backside defense, pick and roll D. Whereas in these last couple of recent years, if you guys have seen me play with like bullet passer, IQ, you know, like in any of these previous years, if I've been able to make a 6'8" inside center and have good rebound on it, enough to like be serviceable in the offensive regard, I come out here and play as a lockdown on ball too, with like 92 perim, 94 steal, 85 steal, stuff like that, at least consistently. The ability to block shots, you know, play good interior D, grab rebounds on offense and defense, have high strength for brick wall, have contact dunks in the pick and roll as well, have high pass act for making reads. All that stuff happens because the builder allows me to. And even though I'm on a pure inside, it's not like it's just a pure role player. That's my take on it, is pretty much what I was trying to give a rebuttal to that guy who was pretty much saying I've been sitting here playing on a role player for years. Which, you know, it's true at its core because I'm on a pure inside. But that's even more so like my point. it's a amplified version of the role player, which I suppose if you want to call it that, fair enough. And that's why I'm saying in this game, you can do a lot of different things. You can make a true blue offensive point guard. You can make a do-it-all, everything offensive like PG that still has good defense. With how cheap steal rating is too, it's on like literally every single build. So not many point guards have quote-unquote no defense anymore in this builder. Just how it is, you know? So anyway, pretty much what I'm trying to get at is there's ability to be a role player or there's ability to not be a role player. And you can do a lot of things at once or you can do them really well. So, and some people wouldn't even call a play sharp from back in the day a role player necessarily either, you know? It realistically would be a ball dominant player that's on some Luka Doncic stuff. It's just not as, you know, elite at multiple things, I guess. But they truly would make, you know, nearly no defense builds. Or when it was pie charts, you know, it'd be like the green and yellow and like barely any investment into either finishing or defense. And maybe one thing of those two was like a tertiary thing that like you had decent, essentially. So real quick, I want to go to the builder. Let's talk. Let's look at some builds that I have saved. No, you know, propaganda or anything. I just want to look at ones that I have created and see if we would call those role players or star players. Alright, so mind you, a lot of these are for me, a lot of these are my teammates' builds, like for instance, like AK and Joey and stuff like that. So this off rip is an AK, you know, offensive point guard build, has 0 finishing, has the ability to play defense with 91 steal and 85 perim. I would call this a two-way do-it-all build, realistically. However, you can't call it a do-it-all because it doesn't have dunk or finishing. But what I mean to say is it plays both sides of the court very well. That's my take on it. So You used to be able to make builds kind of like this, but not anywhere near as high on the defensive ratings. So like, let's say the play sharps from back in the day, like I'm talking, and just for the record, these are with cap breakers on top of that in mind. So like that even makes it easier to be at a do-it-all build, because you can go +5 3-pointer, boom, that's 99.3. +5 ball handle, there you go, 95 ball handle. And then even more attributes like elsewhere to fill things in a little bit as well. But again, on top of that, you have high steal, the ability to play solid on-ball defense, and then good speed, moderate agility, stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, this I would call a superstar build easily, no questions asked, and that's what this builder does provide you the ability to do. And by the way, it's one more speed with ball too for the Hall of Fame lightning launch. But anyway, yeah, solid pass act. The problem is that you have to take a big hit on your build somewhere, and you used to be able to do that, like I was saying with those green-yellow pie charts back in the day. You would just like completely destroy one of your offensive archetypes, if you will, aka the finishing in this spot, and then the defense would just be more along the lines of like, let's say 74 and like 74, something like that. There you go. This is the type of look you would have on a play sharp back in the day, and probably a little bit of a drop in terms of one of these, maybe like mid-range ratings or something like that. Anyway, let's go ahead and look at a different build. This is like a Joey shooting guard build, if you will. I mean, it's like a post scorer that plays moderate defense, not that great, blah, blah, blah. This is like, I don't know. It's hard to say whether this is a role player or a star player. I'm going to call it a role player more so. It's just a shooting guard spot up hash. Boom, you put +5 3, +5 midi. It's an elite shooter for sure. With good post control, you can take advantage of smaller guard matchups on you, like point guards and stuff. It's like a Swiss Army knife offensively. It's just not very good defensively. Moderate rebound. I don't know. It's not like we cooked here or anything. It's not a great build by any means. I just wanted to keep giving a couple options. Some of these didn't even see the light of day on YouTube or anything like that either, for that matter. I just wanted to be a candid, like, no BS look on the builds and stuff like that. This one would have been a revamped version of the build that I had right here, and this is a little bit more of a specialist. So like, this would take away my, let's say, defensive versatility a little bit on the build that I just showed you guys, where I take my block and interior D pretty much off, or like a little bit worse essentially, and even the steal rating not that great either, obviously 60. 82 perimeter stays though, so it would just guard the hash and do it at a decent rate, but not great because I can't even chase stuff down either. So it's a little bit more of a point guard, if you will, and that's why, as you can see, I have a little bit more of an investment into that pass accuracy. The defensive rebound is higher too. I'll still end up cap breaking the 92 O board on like I would on the other, and then still keeps the good physicals and the finishing exactly where it was before. So it essentially just takes the post control and the defensive interior kind of look away and gives more rebounding, more pass ac. Kind of plays into your specialties a little bit more and takes away the versatility. So it's like closer to star player or point guard, if you will, but again, point is that you take away from the lesser fun things and put it into a little bit of the more fun things. Well, I don't know if you can really call rebounding fun, but anyway, I'm blabbing a little bit. It's pretty much the end of the video. I just wanted to show a couple of builds and talk about role player or specialist or superstar. What does it take to be constituted as a superstar necessarily? Now, this is the last build I'll show you. It's the one I'm considering making for like playing as a role player on Pro-Am, where I'm just on corner defense and pick and rolling on offense. It's nothing like crazy what I've been, explaining that I've been doing over the years and stuff, where I play on-ball D as well as be the team's pick and roll center on some like supercharged Draymond Green stuff that can like poster dunk on people. That's the type of stuff that I feel like I was on. But this is a true blue role player where it's not me handling the ball on a center. It's not me having elite versatility on defense. It's literally just me going to the corner on D, having respectable perimeter D, nothing crazy. Respectable block and interior, nothing crazy. Not going to be overly rotating or anything like that. I am here to grab boards with 99 O board and then be able to dunk in the pick and roll and pass in the pick and roll. Simple as that. Set good screens, get rebounds, have, fun playing as a role player, or at least try to. We'll see how it goes, but it doesn't have the ability to do a lot of things. It just does a lot of the, specialty things at an elite level, like dunk in the pick and roll, pass when they rotate people down at a really good rate, rebound like a dog. And then on top of that too, the reason for those who are interested, the reason I made the build like this is to be able to get slice on a 6'10". So I will have like higher speed, agility, and dunk than I'm supposed to, essentially, especially keep that in mind on the speed and agility part. And it'll be interesting for like rotating and stuff. I wanted to really especially specialize in the speed, where I could have like 83 speed on a 6'10 that also still has 99 offensive rebound and still have good defensive rebound on top of that too, and have Hall of Fame brick wall with like it going to gold on 91 on the cap breaks here, and then using the tier 1 plus 1 to go to Hall of Fame brick wall, because obviously I'm gonna have 99 offensive rebound anyway, so it's gonna be legend rebound chaser, so I don't have to plus 1 that or anything. It'll only be a Hoff box out beast, but I think I'm fine with that anyway. But yeah, this is like a real center build, you know, just a little bit smaller than people are probably used to, because 7-footers are kind of the meta there. But I wanted something with slice that could still be fast and, you know, agile and still have the 99 offensive rebound. So anyway, that's pretty much it for the video. I hope everybody understands the concept that we were on here today. It was pretty much just to talk about the more things you bring to the table, the more things you can do, but the more people will kind of take advantage of that and put you in less fun positions to play. And if you can find something that's just considered a not fun position to play in the first place and have fun doing that, it makes everybody's life really easy and good. But at the end of the day, it is 2K. People like to play different things, you know, get different flavors of the play styles and stuff. Sometimes they want to be a spot-up role player. Sometimes they want to try dipping their toe into the point guard life and have fun, you know, kind of just cooking up and stuff. Or maybe they want to play big man or something, which it does suck. If we can get off on a 1-minute tangent here at the end of the video, and I'm explaining for the 2K community that it really does suck that we have to deal with like spending $100 on every build over and over and over again, whereas something on Rivals, for instance, lets you play as a support character 1 minute, and then you even mid-game, by the way, could switch over to a tank or switch over to DPS, and the more skills you hone and the more skills you like craft to yourself, the more versatile of a player you become without it costing any money to you in real life. You know, like you get to just hone your skills at many different styles and not have to spend $100 on each build to be able to utilize those. Whereas in this game, minimum, if you wanted to play guard, lock, center of those 3 specialized kind of styles, and then on top of that have a do-it-all build as like a 4th one, if you will, that's essentially what I consider all of the archetypes of the Marvel Rivals into 2K community discussion. It's like $400 right there, pretty much, that you got to spend to be able to be a versatile player on top of buying the game. Whereas on Rivals, it's free to buy the game and it's free to play it too, and it's free to play any of the characters. So, I don't know, man. It's a tough discussion for sure, but at the end of the day, and I'm getting off on a tangent even further here, but honestly, it's cool. I'm sure anybody who's still here in the video is here to listen to my yap. So, I appreciate you guys too, for that matter. But I want you guys to know that you don't hear me vocally talk about that a whole lot, and it's mainly because I understand from I understand the developer, the seller, the consumer perspective, and I'm sure a lot of you guys do at its core too. I'm sure a lot of you guys understand that this is a business that 2K has right here, and the fact that we are willing to buy all this VC for the extra builds, buy the game, stuff like that. Honestly, nothing's gonna change unless something to do with you or us change. Realistically, I'm a YouTuber. I do this for, you know, my own income and revenue. That won't be me. I'm just here to tell you guys that I won't be a part of a, you know, rebellion or a you know, revolution against the game, essentially. So don't expect that from me. It's not gonna be me. I'm not gonna sit here and just not buy the game. I'm not gonna, you know, rebel against like 2K making VC prices go up because of the fact that that is. Now, I'm here to tell you that that is what it is. I'm just saying things for what they truly are. If everybody's gonna keep spending money on VC, and, you know, they keep upticking the prices and stuff, which granted, that's inflation, blah, blah. We don't have to talk about, you know, real life stuff too much here. But if they're going to keep uptaking the prices of VC and we continue to spend and continue to make 10 build slots every year, or in some different cases 3, 4, whatever that may be, you know, they're going to keep doing it. It's as simple as that. Now, what I think is kind of fun is the idea of having a lot of different role player builds and stuff, where it is fun to do that. But the problem is, the more fun it becomes, the more money it costs. But at the same time, it's like a game like Rivals that is free to play and free to buy. Are you gonna play it since I told you about that? If you didn't know about it, you know, beforehand. At the end of the day, 2K has kind of a capital on basketball, period, and people are willing to do this stuff and willing to spend because that's just the market it's in. You know, at the end of the day, there's a lot of hero shooters that are free to play and blah blah blah. It's like it doesn't make it any more special than the next one, at least to most people's perspective. But this is the only 2K basketball game, or this is the only basketball game in general. And then it's like a yearly release that we just continue to buy, you know, and that's just it. It is what it is. It's a market capital that they just have, and we can't overcome that. At the end of the day, if you don't like it, don't buy the game or don't play it. It sucks that that's truly what it is, but that's just the truth. Because y'all can sit here and talk about Laker, you have a voice, you should be using that voice to like express your disinterest in the fact that they have these expensive VC prices or, you know, stuff like that. But here's the truth, is those people that are doing that type of talk are all talk, no action. A lot of the YouTubers that you guys like maybe even see as the mascots of the rebelling against 2K, kind of like, you know, VC prices, stuff like that, bro, they're out here spending thousands on my team. They're spending, you know, thousands on the My Player Builder every year too. They're buying the game every year, just like everybody else is. It doesn't make them special by saying this is BS, the VC prices need to go down. Whoop-de-doo, man. That is like doing nothing. That's doing nothing, just like me right here is doing nothing of telling you guys the truth. If anything, it's being more real, because I think that's just BS that they think they're just standing on the community's shoulders and like being the mascot of this stuff, like acting like they're rebelling against it when they're not. You know, they're not buying the game. They're not spending money. They're doing like no money spent series, sure, just like I am, you know, or have and stuff like that, and showing people you can play the game for free, but blah blah blah. That's like with a full squad. That's with like, you know, perfectly specialized builds, stuff like that. It's with spending a ton of time and all this blah blah blah. It's just fake. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm being real right here, telling you guys it is what it is. It's a market. It's a supply and demand. The only way that VC prices go down is if you put a hit on their cost. It's as simple as that, and I'm not willing to do that, and I'm telling you straight up, that's just being real. So it is what it is, and it's an unfortunate truth, but that's just the market. You either got to put a dent in it or deal with it. It's the truth. I'm sorry, and I know this ended on a little bit of a darker kind of tone here, but hey, I just wanted to come full circle with talking about how the role players, blah, 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 the do-it-all builds. People like the do-it-all builds because they can just make one per year probably, and it's a lot more easy to kind of get away with that. So I understand that that's making a hit on your style right there, if you will, where you can play the game for a much reduced cost while also being able to fit into a lot of different roles. So I totally understand that, and I'm sorry that my interest of how I think the game would be more fun to be a more role player and like specialist costs more money. I'm sorry that you know, puts a hit on your end goal of VC prices going down. That's pretty much what I was trying to get at the end of the video here. But it's the truth. The more specialists you have, the more you would create builds and blah blah blah, stuff like that, and making an example of another game that does the same exact thing but is free to play and free to buy. But I don't know how much they're really, you know, making money wise compared to 2K. And that's what I'm saying, fellas. It's the business. You know, at the end of the day, people spend $20 on virtual clothes. Like, let's be real, bro. Like, that's something people are doing. It's not like, I don't know. And that's what the only capital that Marvel's like rivals can even make is like skins and stuff. People buying things in the game. And that's the same with Fortnite, you know? Like, they're not making any money off people buying things that help them play the game or help them win. It's literally just appearance, cosmetics things, you know? Stuff like that. And people on top of the money that we spend for builds still buy cosmetics in 2K at a ridiculous cost and stuff too. Like, bro, you know how much those clothing companies probably love us off the fact that they can make digital clothing that doesn't even cost any money to make and make $20 off a little bundle drop like that? They probably love that stuff, and 2K does too. But that's the type of stuff you won't see me buying in here because I don't care about it that much. You see me rocking shirtless that I earn in the game every year and buying some 500 VC shorts and maybe a custom pair of Jordans. Whoop-de-doo. That's about it. But anyway, sorry for the rant, sorry for the tangent, but I enjoy doing stuff like this at the end of the videos. It's fun for me, and I appreciate like connecting with people on a more like real basis rather than being like what seems like a little bit more scripted YouTuber at the beginning of videos, if you will. So anyway, that's all video. Hope you all enjoyed. If you made it to the end of this pretty lengthy one right here, put Laker in the comments, search purchase them all the way through, and let's try this one to 1,000 likes. Anyway, that's all. Appreciate y'all for watching. On that, take it easy, man. Peace.